I think I had an encounter with the Grim Reaper at night in a cemetery. Before you call me delusional, your girl came with receipts, okay? I got audio and I got pictures. So just hear a bitch out before you start to do it, okay? Thank you. So to start off with, we're going to talk about why I was at the cemetery. Well, me and my sister, we like to go to cemeteries to walk around, explore day or night. It doesn't matter. But we wanted to make it a tradition on Halloween night that we go and walk a cemetery and just enjoy the spooky side of being human. Me and her were walking around this cemetery with no bad feelings. We were doing good, we were vibing, just walking up and down the aisles, looking at the graves, finding the oldest ones, the new ones, things like that. Just being girls in a cemetery at night. Now, fast forward a little bit to the time where we were getting ready to leave, and we had the middle part of the cemetery that we wanted to look at. Now, there was this big old tree right there in the middle of this cemetery. So we walked up towards it and we're looking around at all the graves, and me and her both simultaneously point out the weird, heavy feeling near this tree. So we start to investigate and look around and see what we could find with the names and the plaques on the ground. We happened to notice that 4 or 5 infant graves were right there below us. Like, right, we weren't stepping on them, but they were right there below this tree. And it looks like most of them were infants. There was like one 5 year old and one 1 year old. And I remember because I was pregnant at this time as well. I was at the beginning of my pregnancy. I started to feel uneasy with all the baby graves. It was very weird to me. And they all died different years, but none of them really had a life. And it was depressing to think about. And me and her were like, something feels weird over here. We feel heavy. Let's walk away from this area. You know what? How about we just leave? As we were walking out, something told me to turn around and take photos. Now, that whole time I was there, I did not touch my phone. My phone was not going off. I didn't have anything on. It was just in my pocket. So I took my phone out and I took the fucking photos, and I was just doing the little burst thing. I wasn't really paying attention. I was just listening to my intuition in the moment. So fast forward about a week after we went to the cemetery, I finally remembered I had these photos, and I was like, oh, let's go look at them. Now, in these photos where I'm taking pictures of this tree, I start to notice something sitting underneath the tree. And now this was around Halloween time, but I promise you there were no Halloween decorations at this cemetery. There was nothing out there. And it looked to me like a hooded figure. So I swiped to the next photo, and I shit you not, this figure is now looking at me. Like, you can see the progression of this thing acknowledging my existence. It goes from looking forward to looking right at me as I am flashing my flash on my phone taking these photos. So I'm stunned and I'm like, holy shit. And it's the tree we felt so weird at. So I show it to my sister and I'm like, dude, we actually caught something, like, this is crazy. And I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the photos. So now that you see what I saw, shit gets weirder after this, okay? So every time I leave a cemetery, I always like to do a cleanse. I always say, I don't claim any attachments. Nothing is allowed to follow me home. We are here for exploring and just acknowledging death after life. That is it. But this thing definitely followed me home. And I started to have dreams about it. So I would say it was probably a little after the fact that I found the photos. I was sleeping. And as I was sleeping, I had this dream where I was walking through my kitchen where I had glass sliding doors, and I was looking out into this black abyss. And as I'm looking out there, this thing, that Grim Reaper looking thing, that entity was out there, like, waiting for me. And as soon as I look at it, I watched it turn its head to face me. And then I wake up out of the sleep. And then, I'm like, okay, that was weird, pregnancy dreams, whatever. But the next day, I'm talking to my husband and I tell him about this dream I had. And I told him how it was outside the door. And we were looking at the door, and he noticed that there were 2 childlike handprints on the top of the door. Now, my daughter was not old enough to reach the top of the door. It was a child's handprint. It was smaller than mine, it was smaller than his. And there was two of them, like they were peering into the window. And me and him both tried to clean these fucking handprints off the windows. They was not coming off. So it was a really weird coincidence for me, but I did just ignore it until some time passed and I was in the bathroom. I was going through my shampoo and conditioners and I could sit on my toilet and literally reach for the little cabinet that I had. So being pregnant, I was just sitting there, just going through things, minding my business. Nobody was really home. My mom was asleep. I'm just vibing, right? So as I'm moving these conditioners around, I hear Angie. And I stop and I hear it again. And I look up and I start to answer because I'm like, oh shit, my mom, like something's wrong with my mom. So I immediately call out and I'm like, Mom, is that you? Nothing. So I go back and then I hear it again. And I'm like, this has happened like 3, almost 4 times. I'm going to record this shit. So I got my phone out and I started recording. And I shit you not, I caught it on that video. And I will show you here. You can't tell me that's not whispering my motherfucking name. My name is Angie. It says Angie. So I sent it to my husband and I was like, this ain't happening. Like, I'm pregnant. This is not it for me. I need to go to the nearest like crystal shop. I needed to get things to cleanse myself and I needed someone who knew more spiritual things than I did at the time. So of course I found this crystal shop down the road. I go and I take all of my evidence with me, bitch. This bitch is not going to call me delusional. I'm showing you everything that I come with. And she was very understanding and accepting, and she told me that I had very solid evidence and that she thinks that it could be a Mexican deity. It's actually like a female version of a Grim Reaper. And this deity is to help children transfer in the afterlife, basically, like mother death. And that's kind of how she tried to explain it to me. So she thought I had any type of Mexican heritage, and I told her no. I am Irish, Denmark, Scandinavian. I am white. I don't have any of the Mexican deities, Mexican blood, nothing like that. So she says maybe I have a past life with it, which I don't really know about that. I don't know anything about that. I'm not going to claim any of that. But she said she is not to harm me. I'm pregnant. She thinks that this thing was trying to warn me about my pregnancy. So I took the warning and I went home, right? And I got some crystals and I had some, like a cleanse that I did, and I just let it be. And it was like 3 days after that, I had woken up out of a dead sleep and everything told me everything was wrong. I don't know how to explain that to you, but my intuition was you need to call 911 or you need to call your OB. And I got chills thinking about it right now because I do feel like I was being warned because I was preeclamptic. I didn't know. And those few days, my blood pressure was high and I wasn't paying attention to it. I was ignoring it. And I had to go to the emergency room and I was hospitalized for 3 days. They prepped me to give birth. My son's life was at risk as well as my life was at risk. And I had to do an emergency C-section. And my son was born the day before my birthday, which is actually my mother's birthday. And I genuinely feel like, because I have not seen of it, ever since I got in that hospital and I had all my issues and I got treated and everything and I had my son, it's never been back around. And you could take the story however you want. You don't have to believe me. I'm just giving you my honest, authentic perspective of what happened. And I think it was a pretty cool story. And I wanted to share that with you guys today. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys in my next video.